Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. By now, I'm sure you've heard about this. There's a Category 5 hurricane called Melissa that's heading toward Jamaica. And my friend Mindy with Temples of Jesus channel, she pointed out that in this last general conference, we had Elder Kevin G. Brown of the 70, who was from Jamaica, that had a pretty notable talk. It was a very passionate talk. And so he spoke in this general conference before this hurricane is about to hit Jamaica. And the reason why I want to make a video about this is because you'll remember that back in 2010, I've done videos about this before, and we're going to review it in just a minute. But back in 2010, there was a 70 that was from Japan that spoke in general conference. He talked about tsunamis in his talk. And then a year later, you had the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that hit Japan, and it was really dramatic. That I think was one of the signs of the times that was cinematic. So is something similar going on here with Jamaica? And it turns out it's not just, unbelievably, it's not just Kevin G. Brown. I found more in this general conference. So let's do it like this. Let's read what I have highlighted in this BBC article. A slow-moving but deadly hurricane is inching towards Jamaica, threatening to unleash torrential rains and destructive winds on the Caribbean island. Hurricane Melissa, which early on Monday was upgraded to a Category 5 storm, the maximum strength, is expected to make landfall in the early hours of Tuesday. So I'm going to go ahead and release this video on Monday. The authorities fear that Melissa, which has already been blamed for the deaths of 4 people on the island of Hispaniola, could become the strongest hurricane ever to hit Jamaica. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a minute. Let's go back to, sorry, I have the wrong thing up here. Let's go back to 2010. So back in April General Conference of 2010, you had Elder Koichi Aoyagi, who is from Japan. It says he was born in Matsumoto, Nagano, Japan on March 24th, 1945. And Elder and Sister Aoyagi reside in Chiba-ken, Japan. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing those names and locations. Okay, so April 2010, he spoke. And by the way, he's only spoken 2 times in General Conference. This was the first time. The name of the talk, Helping Hands, Saving Hands. And you only have to go to the second paragraph of his talk. It's right at the very beginning. We live in a day when many people are faced with calamities and are in need of help due to the devastating effects of earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and other natural disasters. The church is reaching out to these people through humanitarian aid. Church members faithfully give generous fast offerings each month and perform service in a spirit of love. They literally offer helping hands in the Lord's way. They follow the commandment of the Lord to remember all things, the poor and the needy, the sick and the afflicted. For he that doeth not these things, the same is not my disciple. Doctrine and Covenants 52:40. So that's what his talk was about. We all know the Helping Hands program of the church. I don't know if it's still in operation. You'll have to let me know in the comments. But this 70 from Japan brought up tsunamis in his talk. Well, almost a full year later, March 11th of 2011, you had the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. And this was just devastating and dramatic. And it's burned into my brain. I remember being glued to the TV screen. I don't know if you were watching it too at that time, but it was breaking news, and I had never personally seen anything like it. You should look up videos on YouTube of the news reporting and raw footage of it. It was incredible. Okay. So then they have him speak October 2015 General Conference. This talk is called Hold on Thy Way. And that's the first thing he talks about. On March 11th, 2011, I was standing on a platform in the Tokyo Shinagawa train station to visit the Japan Kobe mission. At approximately 2:46 p.m., a 9.0 magnitude massive earthquake struck. I was not able to stand because of the intense shaking, and I held tightly to a stair rail. Lights on nearby ceilings began falling to the floor. All of Tokyo was in panic. Now, just really quick, we're going back to Jamaica in just a minute, you guys. This is the whole reason why I'm making this video. Is something similar about to happen in Jamaica? We just read that this is likely the most powerful hurricane that's ever hit Jamaica, at least with like modern records. Okay, he continues. Fortunately, I was not injured, and 4 hours later, I was relieved to learn that my entire family was safe. On television, there was a stream of terrifying, shocking footage. A massive tsunami surged into the Sendai mission area, sweeping away everything in its path. You guys, it really did. Cars, houses, factories, and fields. In the footage, entire buildings, like large buildings, were like just floating like they were toys. It was crazy. Continuing, I was stunned by the tragic images and I wept. I fervently prayed that our Heavenly Father's protection and assistance would be upon all the people living in this region that I so dearly love. Later, it was confirmed that all the missionaries and church members were safe. However, many members were affected, losing their family members, homes, and household possessions. Nearly 20,000 people perished, communities were destroyed, and many people were forced to leave their homes as a result of a nuclear power plant accident. Yeah, here's a couple other notable effects of the tsunami. Entire communities. I don't know if it was like at the city level. I would imagine that it was. It was gigantic. It had to have like probably not completely destroyed, but it had to have engulfed at least several cities. I'd have to look into it. Okay, disasters such as this are wreaking havoc in many parts of the world today, causing much loss of life. We are warned that disasters, wars, and countless difficulties in the world will occur. And of course, he's talking about prophecies having to do with the second coming. Okay, so we have this as a precedent. I plan on adding it to my spreadsheet. I'm surprised I haven't done it yet. My spreadsheet called Signs Church Specific. It's going to go right here. So I haven't done it yet because I want to get this video out as soon as possible. Okay, so Jamaica. So we had, now watch this. So we had Elder Kevin G. Brown of the 70. His talk was The Eternal Gift of Testimony. And he actually brought up Jamaica in his talk. In fact, this section is called Finding Testimony in Jamaica. He says, I grew up in beautiful Jamaica. It was fun and wonderful. Then I'm going to skip down. Jamaica is to me like Palmyra was to Joseph Smith. It is my sacred grove. I do not know the exact spot where Joseph knelt to pray in the sacred grove. But I know exactly where I was when my sacred grove became a reality. It happened at 4 Grove Road, Mandeville, Jamaica, in my bathroom at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday, 3 years after my baptism. This sacred experience happened because 2 weeks earlier, an inspired sister missionary invited me to read the Book of Mormon. Sister Audrey Cross is attending this conference today with her family, and I forever love her. And so there they are right there. That's a sweet picture. Okay, so we have that. And now, so that was October. What are we? Oh yeah, we're still. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of time, you guys. That's why I have spreadsheets and stuff like that. So we're still in October. This is just a few weeks later after he said this in General Conference. Is this an Elder Koichi Aoyagi situation? I don't know, but it doesn't end there. We also had this talk by Elder Peter M. Johnson of the 70, The Power of Ministering to the One. And it turns out, so he was born here in the United States, but of all places, he was born in Jamaica, Queens, New York City. So you know that New York City is made up of different boroughs. I think there's 5 of them. Queens is one of those boroughs. So it's a part of New York City. And then a part of Queens is the neighborhood of Jamaica. So here it is right here, just so nobody questions me. And then also, so you can get an idea where it's at. So here's what you typically think of as New York City, Manhattan, but you have the other boroughs. Down here you have Staten Island and whatever, but you have Queens over here, and the Jamaica neighborhood is this one that's in this shaded area right here, Jamaica. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting. And then we had Sister Tracy Y. Browning, second counselor in the primary general presidency. Her talk was Tune Your Heart to Jesus Christ, the Sacred Gift of Primary Music. And guess what? It turned out, and by the way, I just pulled the general conference. I went to the church website, went to October 2025 general conference, and I just looked for anybody that looked like they could be from Jamaica. So there may be more that I'm missing, people that maybe serve their missions in Jamaica or live there or whatever. But we have Sister Browning, and guess what? It turns out, and I had no idea, it says here that she was born in New Rochelle, New York, here in the United States. But it turns up that she grew up in Jamaica. She grew up in Jamaica. It says Jamaica, New Jersey, and New York. But part of her growing up was in Jamaica, of all places. That sure is a lot of Jamaica in this general conference. So do I think we're having a 2011 moment with Jamaica? I'd say there's a good chance, just based on what we saw in 2011. And there's probably many other times that I just haven't found yet that are like this. If you know of any, please send them my way. I'll do videos about it, and I'll add this stuff to my spreadsheets and my timelines. I wouldn't be surprised if, this has happened a number of times where you have a general conference, you have a general authority or a general officer of the church from a particular location, and then later on you have something happen, something significant, whether it's a disaster or something else. And I don't know why. Maybe it just highlights that moment. Maybe people that are from there in the church, I'm sure that they probably tune into it. I feel like, throughout my life, I've seen people from different locations, whether they're here in the United States or outside the United States. And you're probably like this. I'm like this now because I no longer live in Utah. I haven't since 2011. But, you hone in on church leadership that's from your area, don't you? You're like, oh, for me nowadays, it'd be like, oh, he's from Missouri or he's from the Kansas City area. But that's how I was like when I was in Kansas. I was pleased to find out that Sherry Dew is from Kansas. Basically the first 4 years, like the first 3.5 years of my channel, we're in Kansas. That's where I started this channel. And I was excited to see anything or anybody of significance in the church or church history from Kansas. And so that's why it would probably really stick out to me. And whatever happens in Jamaica, maybe it's going to have the same effect for those people. They just saw one of their own, specifically with Elder Brown, give a very passionate talk in general conference. And then this may or may not, this may be a big thing or not. And then afterwards, they may look back with new eyes at the words of Elder Brown. So you get it? You understand? Like sometimes we think that signs of the times, they always have to be for us and for our viewing pleasure. And it has to be exciting and spectacular and magical and supernatural. But I feel like the Lord many, many times will hit many birds with one stone. So you have a singular event that accomplishes many different things. And that's probably where this comes in, where you have a speaker from Jamaica. You have you have two speakers that actually lived in Jamaica, the country, and then you have one speaker that lived in a neighborhood called Jamaica in New York. So at this point, before it happens, please say a prayer for Jamaica. I think they're in for a rough ride. Even if it doesn't turn out to be a huge thing like what happened in 2011, a Category 5 hurricane is no joke. It is no joke. I'm going to have to... I haven't done this for a while, but I have a spreadsheet called Signs Hurricanes. Where is it? Actually, I have two for hurricanes. Oh yeah, here we go. I forgot. I have this recently I created one that's a timeline, but before that I had this one. This is Signs Hurricanes 2, where I'm trying to keep track of Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean hurricanes that affect the United States. And I'm trying to answer the question, are we seeing a rise in hurricanes? And generally speaking, it's not like really dramatic, but generally speaking, it seems yes. If you take both the Atlantic and the Pacific together, that's what this graph is right here. You see the trend line right here. Major hurricanes. This one is a little bit more difficult because this could be a reporting criteria thing. I don't want to sound like a faithless person, but this one, I highly doubt that it just like suddenly jumped up like this. And there's such a dramatic difference between like the 90s, 2000s, so on and before. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. I just, took the data that was available to me and put it on these charts. If this is accurate, then wow. But this top one is from the 90s until today. So I don't think there's been very much variation in how they gauge hurricanes and hurricane strength within those decades. And it does seem like there's a little bit of a trend upwards. While we're here, so this was last updated last year, and I think it's pretty much complete for 2024. So I'll have to update it for where we're at right now in 2025. I just want to see really quick. Let's zoom in. So in 2024, the last time that I updated it, we had 2 Category 5s in the Atlantic. And you have to go all the way back to 2005 to see more than 2 Category 5s. 2005 had 4 of them. So putting 2005 aside, you have all these other years that are tied for second place with 2 Category 5s. So that's just to give you some context. Over in the Pacific, there's a couple years, 1994 and 2018. Oh, in 2002, that had 3 Category 5s. It's interesting that 2018 was one of those years. That was President Nelson's first year as president of the church. It also had a lot of Category 4s, 7 of all numbers, 7. So anyway, I might follow up on this, in a future video. But say a prayer for Jamaica. I hope I'm wrong about this, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, that's going to be for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.